Before we delve into the hollow earth theory and some of the stories, I'm going to do a quick introduction into caves, and features like subterranean rivers, jungles, and the plausible scientific possibilities of the hollow earth, so let's get into it. The number of caves in the world known to man easily exceeds 50,000. That number is more likely to be 10 times that, or 500,000. Many of these caves have not been fully explored, so how far or deep some of them go is still a mystery. In 1991, Ho Can, a man living in the jungles of Vietnam, found the entrance to a cave, but the descent into the opening was too steep, dropping more than 200 feet, and Can was unable to enter. What he found drew the attention of explorers. In 2009, spelunkers from the British Cave Research Association led the first expedition into the Sun Dune Cave. What they found was one of the largest caves known to man. Sun Dune measures over 5.5 miles in length, and some of its caverns are large enough to hold a 40-story skyscraper. Sun Dune is also home to a jungle growing more than 600 feet beneath the Earth's surface. A portion of the cave, where the roof has collapsed, allows natural sunlight to filter down. Plants, both small and large, can thrive in the cave jungle. Trees there can grow nearly 100 feet tall. The jungle's larger plants provide home to animals not normally found below the earth, like monkeys. A river also flows within the Sun Dune Cave. There are many caves that have subterranean lakes and rivers running through them. The longest is the Sistema Sac Acton, a subterranean river in Mexico with a length covering 95 miles. So what are the chances that there could be subterranean oceans, or even civilizations living beneath our very feet? The furthest man has ever drilled is approximately 7 or 8 miles because it gets too hot to drill any further. But a new study done by geophysicists and seismologists has found evidence that vast oceans worth of water are tied up within Earth's mantle. And they are 400 miles deep. These oceans could be up to 3 times larger than that of our oceans on the surface. But if there are oceans that far down, then could there be life and maybe even other civilizations as well? According to historians, yes. 300 years ago in 1692, an article by Edmund Halley, who discovered Halley's Comet, proposed that the Earth was hollow. From the study of magnetic compass variations, Halley by 1683 had reached the quite original conclusion that the Earth possessed 4 magnetic poles. However, he could not account for the existence of multiple poles, nor their gradual displacement with time, acknowledging that the latter depended on secrets as yet utterly unknown to mankind. He assumed that within the Earth, concentric to its hollow shell and rotating coaxially, he discerned another sphere, whose existence had until this time been unsuspected. Possibly there were further spheres hidden within that one. Both spheres had magnetic poles embedded within them at a distance from their common axis of rotation. A very gradual differential rotation between the two spheres accounted for the drift of the magnetic poles with time. One pair of magnetic poles was stationary, being embedded in the outer shell, while the other pair drifted westwards, because the inner sphere was revolving at a slower rate. Halley's Earth was composed of an outer shell 500 miles thick, with an air gap of the same distance between it and the inner sphere. Fast forward to the 18th century, a Swiss mathematician Leonhard Euler took the multiple spheres theory and replaced it with a single hollow sphere that contained a sun 600 miles wide. He said the sun maintained heat and light for an advanced civilization that he said lived there. A Scottish mathematician Sir John Leslie suggested that there was not one sun but in fact 2, he named these Pluto and Proserpine. These are no doubt some of the inspirations for Jules Verne's novel, Journey to the Center of the Earth, first published in 1864, and is one of the oldest science fiction literatures. Now let's jump forward to the 20th century. Admiral Richard Evelyn Byrd was an American naval officer and explorer. He was said to be the first person to fly to both the North and South Pole. He died March 11, 1957. Nearly 40 years after his death, the hollow Earth again became a topic of discussion. In 1990, a book came out titled, The Missing Secret Diary of Admiral Byrd. Some believe it is an actual secret diary of Admiral Byrd accounts, and that he had found an entrance to the hollow earth and a civilization living within it, and others are skeptical. If true, what Admiral Byrd saw was incredible to say the least. According to Byrd's diary, the government ordered Byrd to remain silent for what he witnessed during his Arctic assignment. Here is a quote from the book. March 11, 1947. I have just attended a staff meeting at the Pentagon. I have stated fully my discovery and the message from the Master. All is duly recorded. The President has been advised. I am now detained for several hours, 6 hours, 39 minutes, to be exact. I am interviewed intently by top security forces and a medical team. It was an ordeal. I am placed under strict control via the national security provisions of this United States of America. I am ordered to remain silent in regard to all that I have learned, on the behalf of humanity. Incredible. I am reminded that I am a military man and I must obey orders. End quote. According to the book, Byrd found an entrance in the South Pole that took him into the hollow earth and went to the city of Agartha where he met an ancient race. Legends of Agartha have been written for thousands of years and has also been referred to as Shambhala or Shangri-la, which is emphasized prominently in Buddhism and Tibetan teachings. 19th-century French occultist Alexander Saint-Yves published the first account of Agartha in a book titled The Kingdom of Agartha, and was first introduced to the Western world in 1886. But what did Byrd really see, and what did the Master actually say to him? This is what was written in the book, and again I quote, "Our interest rightly begins just after your race exploded the first atomic bombs over Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. It was that alarming time we sent our flying machines, the flagellates, to your surface world to investigate what your race had done. You see, we have never interfered before in your race's wars and barbarity. But now we must, for you have learned to tamper with a certain power that is not for your man, mainly that of atomic energy. Our emissaries have already delivered messages to the power of your world, and yet they do not heed." End quote. Also according to the Master, places like Tibet, the Great Pyramid of Giza, and the North Pole all have tunnels leading to Agartha. Byrd also talks about both poles getting warmer the closer you get to them, and even in a documentary about Byrd's southern Antarctica explorations, which are in full color, there is a part where they find warm freshwater lakes, one which is over 5 miles, which they land and take temperatures. All the mountains are void of snow, and an abundance of minerals. There are also lots more I could mention about Byrd's book, but I think it's been well documented on other videos and websites, so instead I'm going to turn my attention to Dr. R. W. Bernard's book titled, The Hollow Earth. In this book there is an interesting part I'm going to discuss, and that is the story told to a LA doctor, Dr. Nufi, by his patient, a man from Norway. The man describes his experience like this. I lived near the Arctic Circle in Norway. One summer, my friend and I made up our minds to take a boat trip together, and go as far as we could into the North Country. So we put 1 month's food provisions in a small fishing boat, and with sail and also a good engine in our boat, we set to sea. At the end of 1 month we had traveled far into the north, beyond the pole and into a strange new country. We were much astonished at the weather there. Warm, and at times at night it was almost too warm to sleep. Then we saw something so strange that we both were astonished. Ahead of the warm open sea we were on what looked like a great mountain. Into that mountain at a certain point the ocean seemed to be emptying. Mystified, we continued in that direction and found ourselves sailing into a vast canyon leading into the interior of the earth. We kept sailing and then we saw what surprised us, a sun shining inside the earth. The ocean that had carried us into the hollow interior of the earth gradually became a river. This river led, as we came to realize later, all through the inner surface of the world from one end to the other. It can take you, if you follow it long enough, from the North Pole clear through to the South Pole. We saw that the inner surface of the earth was divided, as the other one is, into both land and water. There is plenty of sunshine and both animal and vegetable life abounds there. We sailed further and further into this fantastic country. Fantastic because everything was huge in size as compared with things on the outside. Plants are big, trees gigantic, and finally we came to giants. They were dwelling in homes and towns, just as we do on the Earth's surface. And they used a type of electrical conveyance like a monorail car, to transport people. It ran along the river's edge from town to town. Several of the inner Earth inhabitants, huge giants, detected our boat on the river, and were quite amazed. They were, however, quite friendly. We were invited to dine with them in their homes, and so my companion and I separated. He went with one giant to that giant's home and I went with another giant to his home. My gigantic friend brought me home to his family, and I was completely dismayed to see the huge size of all the objects in his home. The dinner table was colossal. A plate was put before me and filled with a portion of food so big it would have fed me abundantly an entire week. The giant offered me a cluster of grapes and each grape was as big as one of our peaches. I tasted one and found it far sweeter than any I had ever tasted outside. In the interior of the earth all the fruits and vegetables taste far better and more flavorsome than those we have on the outer surface of the earth. We stayed with the giants for 1 year, enjoying their companionship as much as they enjoyed knowing us. We observed many strange and unusual things during our visit with these remarkable people, and were continually amazed at their scientific progress and inventions. All of this time they were never unfriendly to us, and we were allowed to return to our own home in the same manner in which we came. In fact, they courteously offered their protection if we should need it for the return voyage. So, if these encounters are actually true, does it mean at least some of the governments, if not all, know of the existence of these civilizations and entrances into the hollow earth? And is it one of the reasons no aircraft are allowed to fly over either of the poles? Could it also be the source of most, or all, UFO sightings recorded? If so, why would they hide such amazing discoveries? Is it because they think we wouldn't be able to handle such truths? What would be the social impact of such a discovery? Would we rejoice or riot? Would it change our religious beliefs? Would it start a new religion? Would it bring us all closer together, or separate us more? Is it because these races want nothing more than peace, and the people who run the world are addicted to wars and suffering? Or is it all just make-believe and nothing more than fantasy? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and hit the like button if you would like me to do more topics like this one. Thanks for watching, have a great day, and see you next time.